"Sir," the comms officer whispered, eyes wide. "The signal pattern is changing." The room fell silent. New pulses flashed across the screens, this time shaped into crude, low-bit pictographs. Not language, not math, but warnings, a doorway, a fracture, a hand reaching through, and a cluster of unfamiliar star shadows advancing like a tide. Captain Rian Vos felt his stomach twist. "They aren't calling for help," he murmured. "They're telling us to stay away, or worse, run." The forbiddens void the engines of the Astraeus burned white as they reached the coordinate horizon. Space distorted darker than dark, like matte black velvet swallowing the stars. Even the ship's gravimetric sensors reported missing space, as if a piece of reality had been carved out. Lieutenant Harker swallowed hard. "Captain, we're detecting structures." "Structures where?" He pointed into the void. "They're barely visible, were monolithic shapes kilometers long, darker than the surrounding nothing. They looked like architectures built from shadows themselves, flickering between dimensions." Dr. Lear Imani stepped forward, stunned. "These aren't ruins," he whispered. "They're restraints." Rian turned sharply. "Restraints? For what?" Lear zoomed the hologram. Inside the cage-like constructs was a swirling mass, vast, slow, hungry. A shape with no shape. Edges folding, unfolding, refolding. Something old. Something that was never meant to touch this universe again. And then it moved. The entire bridge froze as the shadow colossus turned its attention toward the Astraeus, even though it had no eyes. The restraints shuddered violently as tendrils of darkness slammed into them with cosmic fury. Harker's voice cracked. "Captain, it sees us. No, it feels us." He had felt it only once before, when he stood in that ruined Terran monastery, listening to a human whisper prayers into a sky filled with falling debris, as though someone in the dark was listening back. He remembered asking that monk, "Who do you speak to?" And the human had answered, "To the one who hears even when the universe is loud." Tonight, the universe was deathly quiet, and something unseen was listening. "The bridge holds its breath," Admiral Roke's voice cracked as he faced the holodisplay. "Classify that vessel." Officers scrambled, hands and mandibles flying over consoles. "It's not in any Star Naval registry," one officer gasped. "No warp signature," another added. "It's gliding, as if inertia doesn't apply." A younger officer whispered, "Is it alive?" Marith shot him a glare. "Don't be absurd." But Vess wondered. The ship moved too smoothly, too purposefully. Not like a machine pushing forward, but like a creature choosing where to place its next step. "Admiral," the comms officer said, "a transmission is incoming. Low band, wide field, almost like prayer." Vess murmured. Every head turned toward him. He felt heat rise to his face. "I didn't mean." But before he could explain, the signal reached them. "Humanity never forgets its own." The voice echoed again, deeper, now fuller, as though the rift itself carried it. "This is the Terran vessel Eidolon Prime." That name, Eidolon, a myth. A ghost story Terran soldiers told before battle. Vess remembered hearing it spoken by a dying Marine, breath rattling, chest torn open, but eyes still burning. "If you make it to the rift, Captain, you'll see it. The Eidolon. Our memory made metal. Our dead made machinery." At the time, he thought it was a hallucination. Now he wasn't so sure. Admiral Roke forced strength into his voice. "You will identify yourself by lineage and command." A long pause. A soft, almost mournful sigh. Then, by lineage, humanity. By command, legacy. By purpose, return. A shiver rippled through the bridge. Marith exhaled shakily. What does that mean?" But Vess already knew. The boy in the monastery had explained it without meaning to. Some of our ships never came back from the first journey. Some of them went deeper than time. The Eidolon Prime wasn't a warship. It was a pilgrim returning from a place no species had names for. Tension on the bridge, Admiral Roke bared his fangs. Vesmerith, commander's on me. They approached the projection table like generals walking toward a guillotine. On the display, the Terran ship expanded, massive, cathedral-like, etched with symbols that weren't language so much as memory engraved into metal. "What do you make of this?" Roke demanded. Marith shook his head. Humans didn't have technology to build anything like this even now, let alone centuries ago. So what is it? Roke growled. "It's impossible," Marith whispered. "Every impossible thing humans do," Vess said softly, "begins with them believing they can." Roke glared. "Speak plainly, Captain." Vess drew a slow, uneasy breath. The Ulharis shuddered as the last of its shields collapsed with a metallic groan that rippled through every deck. The bridge dimmed to amber emergency lighting, leaving faces painted in fear and flickering shadows. But Captain Vess was calm. That scared him more than anything. The Eidolon Prime hovered above them like a mountain suspended in a storm, its golden lines pulsing with the rhythm of something old, something vast. Not rage, not hatred, judgment, and yet there was mercy woven into that voice. Even now, even here mercy. Vess couldn't explain why he was certain. He only knew that the universe rarely gave two warnings, and the Eidolon's voice had sounded like a second chance. If they defied it, there would not be a third. Admiral Roke breaks. Admiral Roke paced like a caged animal, claws scraping metal. His composure, usually as solid as his armor, was unraveling, thread by thread. Silent guns. Dead engines. Shields down. He gripped the railing. "We are helpless. We could still attempt evasive maneuvers," suggested Vorn, the youngest of the captains, too young, Vess thought, to die for pride. His hands shook with every word. "If we scatter, some ships might break free." Marith glared at him. "And when they catch us? When they decide running equals defiance? What then? You think a ship like that leaves survivors?" Roke snarled. "Enough." He faced Vess. "You claim there is mercy in their warning. So what? We bow to humans? Surrender to a ghost ship older than their entire species?" Vess held the Admiral's gaze. "Not bow, not surrender. Then what?" Roke demanded. "Live," Vess said quietly. Silence clamped around them. The Admiral's eyes burned. "We are warriors, Vess. We die with honor." "Honor?" Vess stepped closer. "Or ego?" Roke's claws tightened. "Mind your tone." "The humans offered surrender," Vess pressed on. "This presence, whatever it is, offered us a chance. Refusing it is an honor. It's suicide." He knew he was walking on the edge of insubordination. He didn't care. Vess didn't fear death. He feared dying stupidly. And something in his bones whispered that the Eidolon Prime was not a ship you defied lightly. It didn't feel like a weapon. It felt like consequence. The rift pulsed again. The bridge hummed with the near-silent dread of 1,000 crew waiting for a decision their lives depended on. The crew watches their leaders break. Roke turned away from Vess, furious, trembling, unable to control the boiling storm inside him. "We cannot bend knee to humans," he muttered. "Not after all we lost." Marith stepped forward gently. "Admiral, we didn't lose. We won. The Terran colonies are extinguished. Their fleets destroyed." "Exactly," Roke snapped. "Which is why surrender now when victory is ours is unthinkable." Vess shook his head. "Then think differently, because whatever that ship is, it sees our victory differently." "And you believe it?" Roke spat. Vess hesitated. Did he believe the Eidolon? Or did he simply feel it? There was something familiar in that voice. Not its tone, it was too vast for one throat to produce, but in its intent. A collective human will bending into words. 1,000 minds braided into one message. Humans didn't vanish when they died in darkness. They echoed. Roke realized the hesitation. "Good," he said sharply. "Because I do not believe in beings we cannot quantify. I do not believe in unseen watchers. I do not believe in this Terran superstition of divine guidance. He raised his chin defiantly toward the viewport, toward the Eidolon's blinding silhouette. There is no hand protecting them. The ship's illumination flickered, almost as if reacting. A sudden chill swept through the bridge. Vess looked up. For a heartbeat, the rift glowed in a pattern too symmetrical to be random, almost like an eye-opening. Mareth whispered, "Admiral." "With respect, are you sure?" Roke scoffed. "Absolutely." But his voice cracked. Everyone heard it. The dreadnought shook as a new transmission struck their coms, a resonance so deep it seemed to vibrate in their bones. "We sense disagreement among you." Vess's breath hitched. This voice was different. Still calm, still ancient, but now sharper, focused, like it was listening, like it was here. Vorn dropped to one knee, hands over his ears. It's inside my head." Mareth grabbed him. "Stay with us." Roke yelled at the ceiling, "Get out of our systems." "No," the Eidolon said simply. "We are not in your systems." A pause. "We are in your presence." The bridge froze. Roke's throat bobbed. "Explain yourself. You speak of surrender as shame," the voice continued. "You speak of death as honor. You mistake pride for purpose." It felt as if the universe itself had leaned closer. Humans learned that lesson long ago. Vess felt a shiver run down his spine like standing too close to a truth he wasn't ready for. "What do you want from us?" he asked. The voice softened. "To prevent another mistake," Roke growled. "We made no—" The Eidolon cut him off with a sound like distant thunder. "You killed families fleeing disaster. You claimed lands that were not yours. You took children who trusted you." That last sentence hit like a blade. Even Vess flinched. The rift flickered, casting ghost-like light across the bridge. "We do not punish," the voice said. "We correct." "Then correct us," Vess said. He didn't know why he said it. The words came out before his mind caught up. Roke spun toward him, livid. "Vess," but the Eidolon answered first. "Very well." A beam of golden light streamed from the massive ship, passing through the rift, through vacuum, through the dreadnought's hull. It didn't damage, didn't burn it, simply entered. Panels glowed. Air shimmered. Something unseen moved through the ship like a slow tide. Officers fell silent, staring, barely breathing. "What is it doing?" Mareth whispered. No one answered. But everyone felt it. A presence, not cold, not cruel, just deeply knowing. It was like being examined by an intelligence that understood more than your actions, one that understood your intent. A weight settled in Vess's chest. A memory surfaced, unwanted. That human marine dying in his arms, whispering through blood. "Someone sees everything, Captain." Vess had dismissed it as the last breaths of a dying man. Now he wasn't so sure. The golden light faded. The bridge returned to its dim glow. Then the voice spoke softly, almost tenderly. "Captain Vess Thalankor." A chill traveled down his spine. "Step forward." Mareth grabbed his arm. "Vess, don't." But he did. He walked to the center of the bridge, every step echoing through the silent crew. Roke snarled, "You will not speak with them alone." The Eidolon ignored him completely. "You saw mercy where others saw weakness. You saw purpose where others saw chaos. You saw meaning where others saw accident." Vess swallowed hard. The voice continued. "You wondered if someone listens in dark places." A breath caught in his throat. Had he ever spoken those doubts aloud? "No, never." "You are correct," the bridge gasped. Vorn nearly dropped to his knees again. Mareth whispered, "By the stars." The breath in Vess's lungs turned heavy. There was no triumph in the Eidolon's tone, no demand, just quiet certainty. As if it revealed the weather. As if saying rain falls. As if saying a presence exists. A truth older than any species. "You believe in something greater," the Eidolon told Vess. "You are not wrong." Roke slammed a clawed fist onto the railing. "ENOUG. This is manipulation Terran spiritual nonsense." But Vess didn't hear him, because the Eidolon lowered its voice. almost a whisper. And now we offer you the truth your heart already knows. Ves felt his pulse in his teeth. What truth? He asked, voice shaking. The truth that humans carry with them, the Eidolon said. The truth that guided them when they walked into the darkness you fear. Light flickered across the rift. Something vast moved behind it. Something patient. Something ancient. The truth, the Eidolon whispered, that you are not alone in this universe. And never were. The bridge went utterly still. Ves's heart pounded. Marith covered his mouth. Even Roke hesitated, just for an instant, fear flickering across his eyes. Then the voice concluded, now choose. A soft hum resonated across the bridge, almost like a breath in, then out. The golden light the Eidolon had sent through their hull lingered in the air, as if every molecule in the ship had absorbed something ancient. Captain Ves stood motionless, every eye on him. Admiral Roke's claws dug into the railing. Marith remained by Ves's side, his expression unreadable but tense. The Eidolon's voice filled the silence again. You must decide. Roke's voice was brutal, filled with wounded pride and fear. Why should we accept this? Why bow to a myth? Ves closed his eyes for a moment, feeling that same weight in his chest, the memory, the marine, the dying whisper. Someone sees everything. He opened his eyes. He looked at Roke, at Marith, at Vorn, trembling. He spoke, his voice low but unwavering, because power without purpose is emptiness. Strength without wisdom is folly. There was a long pause. The rift's glow shifted, as if acknowledging his words. Many of you believe surrender is shame, the Eidolon said, but submission to oblivion. That is shame we cannot abide, Roke roared. You speak of pride and honor, but we are warriors. We do not beg for mercy. Ves raised a hand, gently but firmly. Admiral, this is not begging. This is choosing. Choosing to live, choosing to change, choosing to heal. Marith swallowed. You truly think they can fix what we've done? Yes, Ves said quietly, not by erasing, but by showing us a better way. The bridge held its collective breath. Another beam of golden light, softer this time, brushed through the ship. It moved like a river, calm but unstoppable. Vorn whispered, I think I understand. Roke's claws loosened, his body rigid with conflict. The voice of the Eidolon softened. Will you stand with us, Ves Thalinkor? Will you take the path you already believe in? Ves nodded slowly, his spine straight. Yes, I stand. Marith placed a hand on his shoulder. To life, he said. Ves turned to Roke. At peace with the choice, he added. Not as a defeated warrior, but as someone who saw the truth. Roke's eyes flickered, rage, pride, and something new, respect. How can I trust this isn't another weapon? It isn't, the Eidolon's voice replied, tender and infinite. It is a covenant. The bridge lights brightened slightly, not to full power, but enough to banish the deepest shadows. The crew's faces, still fearful, carried a fragile hope. Ves exhaled, steady. Then we choose this covenant. We choose life. A long silence stretched. Then, softly the Eidolon spoke. Then welcome, brothers. The core shackle loomed before them, a broken titan suspended in a throat of swirling darkness, its fractured rings turning like a dying planet's bones. Captain Rian Voss felt the Devourer's attention shift, cold, vast, and ancient, like something that had forgotten hunger until now. The shuttle Asterion creaked under forces no ship was meant to endure. Panels buckled. Runes on the alien fragments pulsed like veins responding to the presence of living minds. Lyran's voice trembled. Captain, once we begin, there's no safe interruption. The consciousness anchor must remain linked until the final seal engages, meaning one of them wasn't coming back. Rian steadied his breath, making it even deliberate. He'd seen soldiers do this before battle, steadying emotion before the universe asked for more than flesh. Tell me what I need to do, Rian said. Lyran hesitated, then tapped the crystalline console. You'll have to place your hand into the core aperture. It will read your neural lattice and treat your mind as the stabilizing constant. Harker swallowed. A human mind? Our consciousness wasn't built for this stuff, Captain. Rian gave a tight, humorless smile. Humans weren't built for FTL either. And yet here we are. A soundless tremor crawled through the void. The devourer shifted, lifting a limb of shadow long enough to blot out a small moon. It didn't have eyes, but somehow it looked at Rian. A pressure pressed into his skull, like a memory that wasn't his forcing itself through. A single word formed in his mind, cold and bone deep: survival. Rian staggered, hands braced on the console. It's trying to communicate, Liren whispered, horrified. With what? Fear? Rage? No, Rian's voice was thin. With instinct. The devourer didn't kill for sport, didn't hate, didn't conquer. It ate because that was all it had ever known. A hunger built into the architecture of its existence, a mistake of creation, or the echo of something older than order. For a fleeting instant, Rian felt something almost like pity. Then the shuttle threw them sideways as another shackle ruptured in the distance. No time, Liren steadied the device. Harker braced himself at Rian's shoulder. Rian lifted his hand toward the aperture, an iris of alien crystal swirling with blue-white fractal light. Once I connect, he said, you two fall back, don't interfere. No matter what happens. Harker shook his head. No chance. I'm staying right here. Rian fixed him with the look of a commanding officer who had already chosen the only viable path. Lieutenant. Don't make me order it. He clenched his jaw, stroking a hand over the console like it might be the last time. Yes, ma'am. Liren's eyes glistened. Captain, Rian. If I'd known the signal would lead to this, you'd still have come, Rian said softly. So would I. There was nothing else to say. He placed his hand in the aperture. The world vanished. He was still Rian, but also not. His body was somewhere else. But his awareness stretched across the prison like a web of light. He felt the devourer. The custodians, the broken architecture of the seal. The fabric of space-time being pulled toward a monstrous gravity. And behind it all, something quiet, warm, distant, a presence without shape or voice, like breath moving through the universe's bones. Not saving him, not guiding him. Simply there. A witness. A reminder that creation had a source, even in this silent, hostile place. He used that calm like a blade. His will snapped into the core's lattice. And the shackle responded. On the shuttle, the alien device ignited brilliant, blinding, alive. Rian's body arched, suspended above the deck by tendrils of light. Harker shouted his name, but Liren dragged him back. He told us not to interfere. Rian's voice echoed from everywhere and nowhere. Status report. Liren scrambled to read the alien glyphs. Seal integrity rising 40%, no 50 Rian, it's working. But something else surged with it, the devourer. It felt the shackle closing, and it fought back. A wave of darkness smashed into the core. The shuttle hull cracked. Liren hit the floor. Harker was thrown against the far bulkhead with a sickening thud. The devourer's limbs wrapped around the shackle, like a beast trying to pry open its own cage. Inside the lattice, Rian felt his mind blister. Memories burned away like film catching fire. His name nearly dissolved. No, not yet. He forced himself to remember. The Astreus, his crew, the call for help. The billions of lives behind him. And the quiet warmth that told him life meant something, even in the shadow of oblivion. His will surged again. Seal integrity at 70, 80, 90. But the cost was becoming clear. His consciousness was fusing with the structure, becoming part of the lock. He wouldn't be coming back to his body, maybe not ever. A thin breath slipped through the link, one he hadn't intended to speak aloud. Let them live. The entity screamed, a silent cosmic roar that bent the shuttle's hull inward like foil. Another anchor shattered. The core shook. Through the psychic link, Rian saw the Devourer lunge a massive impossible limbs tearing toward the shackle. If it broke this one, everything ended. The galaxy, the custodians, every star within reach, and he felt his mental grip slipping. 1 second more, one breath, one act of will, that was all he had left. Rian braced himself. Lyran, he whispered across the dying link. Finish it. If I fall. Lyran choked on a sob. Rian, don't, please, promise me. I promise. Rian centered his consciousness, pulled every memory, every scar, every moment he had ever lived into a single point of unbreakable intention. The Devourer lunged. Rian struck first. The universe contracted into a single moment, a blinding flash as the core shackle ignited with the full force of a living will. And Captain Rian Vos hung suspended in that light, mind stretched across the lattice of a prison older than the custodian's oldest myths. His body lay limp on the deck of the shuttle, but his consciousness, his self, burned at the heart of the seal. The Devourer didn't simply roar this time. It attacked. A tidal wave of dark intent slammed into his mind with such violence that stars dimmed. It wanted out. It wanted him. It wanted to erase anything that dared stand between it and freedom. And yet, behind all the pain and terror, there was a quiet thread of warmth at his back. God wasn't speaking. He never did. But something vast and gentle stood behind the fabric of things, like the rhythm of breath in a sleeping world. He felt it the way a drowning person feels the shoreline beneath their feet. A reminder, you were made to endure. So he did. Within the psychic lattice, images burst around him, memories the seal pulled from his soul to strengthen its structure. The day he graduated from the academy. The first time he saw the stars from the viewport of the Astreus. His father's hands guiding his small fingers as he learned to tie a knot. The laughter of his old crew before the war. Each memory became a beam of light, reinforcing the structure around him. The Devourer recoiled as the shackle tightened. It didn't understand memory, didn't understand choice, didn't understand sacrifice. Hunger had no place in the space carved by love. On the shuttle, breaking point outside the psychic plane, the shuttle was falling apart. Harker crawled across the tilted floor, blood dripping from his scalp. Panels sparked like dying constellations. The gravity field stuttered with every pulse from the Devourer's attacks. Lyran pushed himself upright, gripping a console that flickered under his hands. His voice was hoarse from shouting. Seal integrity at 94%. No 93. Rian is losing ground. Harker staggered to his feet, slamming his fist against the bulkhead. Then we do something. There's nothing left for us to do. Lyran cried. He's the anchor, if we interfere. He grabbed Lyran's shoulders, shaking with desperation and grief. Then tell me how to help. Tell me something, anything, because I am not watching him die without trying. Lyran froze. Because the alien interface flickered, and something new appeared. A second aperture, dormant, waiting. Lyran wiped his tears with the back of his hand. There's a secondary channel, he whispered. A support conduit. Two consciousnesses confused to reinforce the anchor. Harker's breath hitched. You mean, it's a shared link, Lyran said. A companion mind. Rian won't have to carry it alone. But it could kill whoever enters. Lyran nodded. It will. Harker didn't even blink. I'm in. He placed his hand into the second aperture, and the universe shattered around him. He wasn't ready. The Devourer's presence crushed into him like a tidal wave of knives. His lungs forgot how to breathe. His heartbeat flickered. For an instant he saw nothing but darkness, a void so old that even despair had burned away long ago. But then, a point of light, a voice. Harker? He almost sobbed. Rian. I'm here. Their thoughts intertwined, memories blending like two rivers meeting in the dark. Training, laughter during long nights on the Astreus, arguments, victories, the quiet respect that had formed over years of shared duty. Rian steadied. He didn't say thank you. He didn't need to. Harker felt it. Together, they pushed. The entity paused. The new presence confused it. Two minds, two wills. Two sources of memory and pain and stubborn humanity. And for the first time, just for a fraction of a heartbeat, the devourer felt something alien to itself. It felt resistance. Not from machinery, not from cosmic chains. From living beings. From tiny, fragile creatures who should not have mattered, but their will burned hotter than its hunger. It struck again, but this time the blow met a barrier stitched from two hearts. Rian and Harker braced together, a single bright thread of defiance. And for the first time since the dawn of its existence, the devourer reeled back. Liren screamed from the shuttle, "Seal integrity, 95, 97, 99. The shackle's rings spun faster, fusing broken fragments with beams of raw thought. Rian and Harker were no longer two individuals. They were the lattice, the lock. The force holding the devourer at bay. The entity lunged, a shadow titan striking with all the hunger in creation, but the shackle flared with a light that wasn't physical. It was memory, courage, grief, love, faith, a human star burning at the center of an ancient machine. The devourer hit the barrier and stopped, bound, contained, not destroyed, but sealed in place by something it could not understand. Human will, the light surged, and the core shackle locked. The ghost signal rippled through the galaxy, a low, resonant hum that slipped past grids, bypassed encryption, and vibrated in the bones of anyone who heard it. Scientists described it as a multi-spectrum harmonic anomaly. Soldiers said it felt like a warning. Survivors whispered that it sounded like a prayer. But to those few who had heard the first ghost signal, the one that lured the Astrius to the prison, this new pulse felt different, sharper, heavier, purposeful, like the universe inhaling before a scream. The first to arrive at the edge of the Orion Rift were not humans. The custodians returned. Their vessels appeared in silent blossoms of light, monuments of architecture and philosophy rather than metal and war. Their hulls weren't built. They grew, shaped from crystalline alloys that hummed with impossible energy. They found the stabilized prison still limned with the glow of the reforged core shackle. Inside the inner sanctum, two consciousnesses radiated through the lattice. Rian Voss, Harker Talon, bound, living, awake, held in an eternity of luminous stasis. The lid custodian, a being of spiraling geometric light, extended itself toward the shackle. Its voice filled the chamber, not as speech but as gravity. "The humans have succeeded." Another custodian folded its limbs in reverence. "At a cost we did not foresee," the first responded. A cost they accepted without being asked. For a species the custodians had once dismissed as reckless ape descendants. This act now echoed through their ancient neural matrices like a sacred riddle. Humans had done what the oldest civilizations had failed to do. They had given themselves to the universe without expecting anything in return. The custodians withdrew, but not before adding a final line to their internal archives. Event: Terran will exceeds predicted limits. Re-evaluation of species required. The void held its silence like a living thing. No thunder. No alarms. Only the soft hum of the Pillar of Dawn drifting above the devastated armada it had just humbled. Captain Vess stood on the bridge of Azure Spear with his throat locked tight, unable to look away from the giant No, the relic No. The myth hovering above them like a judgment passed down from the first dawn of creation. His crew didn't speak. No one dared, even the ship itself seemed to hold its breath. A human voice filled every ship in the coalition, at once calm, measured, uncompromising. "You have one chance. Surrender. Lay down your arms. Or the battle ends here." Its silence carried more weight than any weapon. Every captain understood. Humanity had endured. They had returned. The moment the war ended, the dreadnought responded not with celebration, not with gloating, but with silence. Its engines dimmed, weapons withdrew. Its stance softened, not victorious, but merciful. A soft voice played one last message across the collapsing armada. One Terran is never alone. They carry the weight of those who came before, and the hope of those still waiting to return. Then, as silently as it had arrived, the Pillar of Dawn turned away, its colossal frame drifting toward the dark horizon of the rift. Rian and Harker, now woven into the lattice of the shackle, felt the galaxy hold its breath. They were small and fragile in body, but monumental in spirit. They endured. They became part of the architecture of salvation, forever.